Wondering how much it really costs for a week or maybe a month in Hoi An, Vietnam? Well, here's the surprise. You can spend a comfortable week here, accommodation, meals, activities, for less than many of us would pay for a single night's accommodation and a decent meal in Sydney, New York or London. And we'll even let you know if by staying for a month, you can make it even cheaper. So stick around because I'm sharing all the important numbers, plus my best tips for couples over 50 that want comfort, culture and value during their stay in Hoi An. You may have heard some people say that Hoi An is just too busy with that nightly influx of tourists from Da Nang. And if you were only judging it on those few busy hours every night on the river in the old town, then I'd probably agree. But there are some simple ways that can turn that chaos into treasured memories. Lanterns by the river, gentle walking streets, and food that'll make you want to write home and tell everyone about. We originally picked it because it's easy, it's cheap, relaxed, and perfect for travellers like us that are looking for places with charm without the constant noise of the big cities. So, interested? We spent a week in Hoi An last year, which was just enough time for us to get to see beyond that tourist rush. And I'll tell you now, we're already planning to return for a month early next year. After decades of travelling the world together, Hoi An really delivers for travellers over 50 who are looking for comfort and culture without breaking the bank. It feels safe, it's easy to get around, and you won't be stressing about traffic or safety. And yeah, you'll probably find it hard to resist the custom tailoring and shoes, because why would you leave Hoi An without some custom clothes and the stories that go along with them? So now the bit you've been waiting for. Let's break down some costs and we'll start with accommodation. So let me remind you of one thing. We don't stay in places because they're cheap. We stay in places that offer value. We still want to be comfortable. And for the sake of simplicity, we'll do all the prices in US dollars. First up, we'll break up the accommodation into 3 sections. Let's start with budget guest houses. We'll ignore hostels for now, because to be honest, they're places we never really consider. We'll start at the cheaper end and we'll look at guest houses. These guest houses and homestays are an amazing option for your time in Hoi An, and they range from $15 to $20 a night. They're usually very clean, comfortable, and you get the added advantage of being able to get to know a local family. And a nice little extra bonus is the breakfasts are usually family recipes, nice home-cooked traditional meals. Next, we step up to the mid-range boutique hotels. Now in Hoi An, you're going to expect to pay between $25 and $50 a night for these places. Chances are pretty good. They're going to have a pool. They're going to include a good breakfast, which will probably have an egg station and a first station, as well as all the usual breakfast options. And sure, there are some more expensive hotels for those that really want that extra luxury. But to be honest, you really don't need to look beyond the comfort of these mid-range hotels. To me, it's just throwing away money. And the third option, probably not so much if you're staying for the week, but really come into their own if you're looking at staying for up to a month or more. And we're talking about apartments. You'll find some really good options for apartments, and they'll range from $25 to $50 a night. And at that higher end, expect things like a private pool. And how about a couple of examples? Let me tell you about the places our family have stayed. For the week that Pauline and I stayed in Hoi An, we stayed at the Kiman Hotel. And I've got to say, for a cheap hotel, it was pretty impressive. The staff were some of the friendliest we've come across anywhere in the world. They had a great spa. They had good cocktails at happy hour. They had nice rooms, good size, very comfortable. And they had a pool, which was perfect for the heat of the middle of the day. Now, we consider this place a very good 3-star hotel, and it cost us less than $30 a night, including a great breakfast. But if you're looking for something a little bit fancier, a little bit more special, then let me tell you about the Reu Boutique Hotel. Our daughter and a boyfriend have just come back from Vietnam, and they stayed here during their time in Hoi An. And out of all the accommodations that they stayed at while they were there, this is the one they rave about. It's a very stylish new 4-star hotel, located in a remote and peaceful location, yet you're still only about a mile from the old town. And that mile, it's an easy, flat walk, or you can take advantage of the free bikes that are included with your stay. The hotel itself had a very unique design, and the views from the room across the fields were just spectacular. They loved the breakfast they were given, used the spa, which she said was fantastic, and they also had a sauna and a fitness room. After her glowing recommendation, it's definitely a place that we'll be staying when we go back next year. And even for something as impressive as this, it was only about $70 a night. Moving on to something far more important, food. Dining is where you'll really find your happy place in Hoi An. So let's drill down on a few recommendations and some prices. It seems everyone, except me, loves Vietnamese coffee. From what I'm told, it's a strong coffee and they sweeten it with condensed milk. And no matter which one of the many great cafes you decide to have your coffee in Hoi An, you're probably not going to find anywhere more than $2. If you're after a recommendation, check out Cam Coffee and More. It's such a nice little place, and Pauline said it's the best coffee she had in Hoi An. Anyway, enough time spent talking about coffee. Let's get into more important things. Let's talk beer and cocktails. First important point to note, beer is cheap. And it's a pretty good drop if I go on what Pauline told me. It seems no matter where we went, Pauline was able to get a bottle or a nice big glass of cold beer for under $1.50. And of more interest to me, if you wait till happy hour, down in the old town you'll find plenty of places that offer cocktail buckets. And these impressive cocktails are less than $9 each. But man cannot live on beer alone. Sometimes you need something to eat. So anyone fancy a nice crusty banh mi for lunch? Expect to pay no more than $1.50 for these deliciously packed French rolls. And you'll be spoiled for choice on where to get it and what fillings to put in it. For what's arguably considered the best banh mi in town, head to Madame Khan, the banh mi queen. You'll find her just at the northern edge of Old Town. Now, another recommendation. If you care more about the taste and the price of your food, rather than the fancy surroundings, then I've got just the place you need to go. Look for Mr. Son at the eastern end of the Old Town Island. First up, you may be a bit wary about sitting at plastic chairs and tables on the sidewalk, but look past this and you're going to find some high quality food at some really low prices. Like, how does this sound? Dinner for two, drink each, and the surprise bonus of free passion fruit with sugar for dessert. For under $10 a couple, we'll definitely be back. But for those of you that like your surroundings a little bit more plush, we've got a great option for you as well. Head out of Old Town for about a mile along the main road and you'll find Noodle House by Streets. The food here was absolutely excellent and there was nothing on the menu over about $6. And another thing that really drew us to this place is that the wait staff are all underprivileged kids that have been given apprenticeships and an opportunity to get into the hospitality industry. I challenge you to find somewhere with more attentive, more enthusiastic staff. These young kids are so excited to have the opportunity and none of them were going to let that slip between their fingers. But our favourite restaurant in Hoi An is about a block away from Noodle House and it's called Clay Pot. But I'm not going to tell you about the food there just yet. The real thing that we loved about this place was the private cooking class we were able to take with the chef and owner. This cooking class at Clay Pot was perfect for travellers our age. Even with the market visit, it wasn't physically demanding. It was a lot of fun and we had a magnificent meal at the end of it. That sounds like a triple win to me. That owner and chef is a delightful little pocket rocket lady named Chang. And for the relatively small price of about $35 per person, she'll take you on a market tour where she not only gets you to help her collect the ingredients, but she also tells you the history, the tradition of all the different fruits, foods, and even gives you the opportunity to try some of the things you may never have seen before. And one unique thing about the clay pot cooking class that we haven't experienced anywhere else in the world is that Trang lets you select the dishes you want to cook from the restaurant's menu, rather than having a set meal that you're going to prepare. We've done quite a few cooking classes around the world, and we'd have to rate this as probably the best we've ever done anywhere. So we found somewhere to stay, we found the things we're going to eat. Now we need to work out how we're going to get around. And in Hoi An, transport is a breeze. Taxis and grab rides will cost you no more than a couple of dollars. Many hotels and even the homestays and guest houses offer free bicycles, and a ride around the many tracks around town, through the fields, all the way to the beach, is a great way to explore the area. But honestly, even with those options, you'll find you do most of your exploring on foot. Hoi An, especially the old town, is a very walkable place. It's flat, many of the roads are pedestrian only, and there's something interesting to see around every corner. For activities, the first thing you should do is look into the Ancient Old Town ticket. It only costs $5 per person, and that gives you entry to up to 5 of the historic homes or museums around town. Or you can just take your time wandering through the shops and the beautiful streets for free. Another thing we recommend is really touristy, but we still think that it's something that you should do. And that's to take a boat ride on the river at night and release your own lantern. It costs about $10 each, which includes your lantern, your boat ride, and usually a bottle of fresh water. And even though there's a lot of people on the river at night doing the same thing, it still creates a pretty special memory. So let's get an idea of some total costs. A comfortable week for a couple with good accommodation, plenty of really good food, probably not going to cost you more than $400, unless you wanted to add in the cost of a cooking class or maybe a day trip to the imperial city of Hue, for example. For that $400, which is per couple, not per person, your stay will have been comfortable, you will have been well fed, and you will have had the chance to do as much or as little as you want to do in a week. Looking for something a bit more luxurious? You can upgrade to a pretty fancy hotel, eat in some nice restaurants, and you're probably still going to be under $700 for a week. That's less than $100 a day per couple. Have we got you interested yet? How about we have a look at the costs for staying for up to a month or more? If you've got the time, this is where the magic happens. Renting apartments for a month can actually reduce those already small accommodation costs. You can find some really nice apartments around, most with air conditioning, Wi-Fi, even private pools, for around $450 to $650 a month. That's less than $20 a night. We're talking about places with kitchenettes, so you can do a bit of shopping at the local market and cook yourself a few meals to save even more money. Because the local markets in Hoi An, they're not only great fun, you'll find a huge range of fruit and vegetables and seafood at prices you'll hardly believe. Plus, by staying a month, you get the chance to settle in. You're not rushing to see all the sights in a couple of days, so that activities costs get to spread out across a whole month. And why we're so excited to be doing this early next year is that you actually get to feel that you're not just visiting. You get to know the cafe owners, you get to know your neighbours, and you get to find your own preference for the best coffees and banh mi's in town. So what's it cost? A couple could live here comfortably for a month for under $1,000. Or you could live like celebrities for under $1,500. And that's all in. That's your accommodation, your food, your transport, some activities. Amazing value. Honestly, it's probably a lot cheaper than staying home with the rising power bills and food costs. Let's have a bit of a look at why Hoi An is so perfect for travellers over 50. It's flat, walkable and compact. Day trips like My Son Sanctuary or a bike ride to the beach are only 20 or 30 minutes away. And for those who choose to stay for a month, a quick getaway for a night or two in the imperial city of Hue is a wonderful change of pace. And it's only an easy couple of hours away. Another thing to note, Hoi An's old town is pedestrian only in the evenings, which makes it even easier to wander around without worrying about dodging the motorbikes. And as we said, it can be busy on the river at night, but it's still magical. Strolling along the edge of the lantern-lit river, stopping for a drink at one of the nice bars or restaurants, you just won't have any need to rush. It's gentle travel at its best, with a little side of adventure, just to keep us feeling alive. Hoi An has a great balance, enough culture and activity to keep you curious, but not so hectic to make you feel worn out and stressed. One thing, don't forget to pack those comfy walking shoes. And ladies, you're probably not going to need to pack your heels for this trip. The next thing we need to cover is when should you visit Hoi An? Because just diving in at any time of the year could be the difference between a soggy nightmare and one of the best experiences you've had. I can think of few things worse than getting stuck in the old town and one of the times or two a year that it floods, or getting caught in the middle of the monsoon. But if you can travel between mid to late February and the end of May, then you really should have nailed that sweet spot. The weather at that time of year is lovely and warm, there are fewer crowds, and it's a good time of year for finding accommodation deals. As for those times that you really want to try and avoid, September to November is monsoon season. So if this is your only option, take an umbrella and prepare to get wet. One thing to be aware of is that February is the month of the Vietnamese New Year. To celebrate this event, they have an enormous lantern festival in Hoi An, and the crowds can be crazy. It really is a massive occasion for locals and tourists alike. Another tip for you, if you want to avoid those crazy nights when all the tourists come in from Da Nang, then stay just outside of Old Town. You're going to get quieter nights, lower prices, and you're still only going to be about a 10-minute easy walk into town. Another couple of handy tips: save money by eating street foods or eating at the markets, and use Grab rideshare instead of the local taxis. Oh, and another thing, if you go to any of the tailor shops, don't be scared to bargain, but do it politely. And speaking of those tailor shops, you'll find them everywhere in Hoi An. Their quality is world class, and their prices are a fraction of what you would expect to pay in most other parts of the world. As long as you don't go in expecting sweatshop knockoff prices, you're going to get really high quality products at very competitive prices. And speaking of tailor shops, our daughter just returned from Hoi An, and she brought back this lovely 3-piece linen suit that she had custom made. The quality of the fabric and the workmanship is as good as you'll find anywhere else in the world, and it cost under $120. So make sure to give yourself 3 or 4 days if you want to get something custom tailored, because they do it properly. They measure, they get you back in for a recheck, they'll make any amendments that are needed when you come in to pick it up. It's well worth it. Oh, and by the way, you can also get custom leather shoes made in Hoi An, and they're going to cost you much less than buying a similar item off the shelf back home. She paid under $50 for some custom made leather slip-ons, and they fit her like a glove, except for her feet. So 1 week in Hoi An, about $400 for a couple, and a whole month, you can do that from under $1,000. And for me, that's incredible value. When it comes down to it, Hoi An is absolutely worth it for couples over 50 that are looking for culture, comfort, and affordability. Not to mention those of us that are looking for great food. As I said, we had a week in Hoi An last year, and we're currently planning to head back for the month of March next year for the whole month. And at these prices, why wouldn't we? And why wouldn't you? I've got more videos showing these sort of cost breakdowns for other towns coming out over the next few weeks. So if this sort of stuff interests you, subscribe, hit the notifications button, and you'll find out when the next ones come through. And if you've already been to Hoi An, let us know in the comments what your favourite cafes or restaurants were that you found. Help out your fellow travellers, and give us some more things to have a look for when we go to Hoi An next year. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. But I'm hungry. I think I might go looking for a banh mi.